You got to have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor. Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Caps Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan. I always have been. And to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me. And just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you could feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
And welcome to episode 360 of Sports on the Hill podcast. We've got a live game and a couple of good shots at it right here. A couple of good whacks at it on the power play. We are down 1 goal live. We've got Coast to Coast Capitals fans here. We've got Janaea Talks Caps joining us all the way from the West Coast. How are you doing tonight?
I am great. I think I'm probably doing a lot better than you guys, seeing all of the snow that you guys have in those pictures you sent me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's sunny and warm up here. So I walked the dog in flip-flops today, not to make you jealous or anything.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
it's going great up here.
I was lucky. I had 2 weeks in the island, so I can't complain too much. But it was a weird juxtaposition going from being on the beach and snorkeling and scuba diving one day, and then 2 days later seeing snow. So it was quite a range for me and the kids, for sure. Of course, the kids had the day off. I had to work all day, so I was like juggling them and working, which was a interesting endeavor. Unfortunately, the Capitals aren't doing so well on this power play. There's about 37 seconds left in it here. They're trying to set up. We're watching a little bit delayed, so we can all be a little bit more synced up here if people are watching it live and being like, that happened 15 seconds ago. But we appreciate everyone for tuning in. This is the premiere episode of the winter season of Sports on the Hill podcast. We're joined by the Power Play Point podcast as well. I was able to join their show this past week, which was a lot of fun. Gil, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Really not wishing for any of the white stuff that we're getting, but it's I guess that's what dandruff shampoo is for. So,
right. It's been interesting because I haven't actually gone out in it, so I don't know if it's good to make snowballs or anything with, but I've stayed indoors primarily, so I'll probably try to venture out tomorrow at least a little bit to see how it's going. I heard we're going to get a couple more inches, and hopefully it'll stop somewhat soon, but everything is closed for tomorrow as well here as they're trying to dig out for sure. Anna Knox is the other person on the PowerPoint Point podcast and joining us tonight. Anna, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And I will say, yes, it is snowball worthy.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's good. And there was much more than expected, which is crazy. And it's still snowing now. I don't know if it is in Maryland, but it is here.
It is still snowing here in Maryland as well. So it's been interesting, to say the least. My poor wife had to be like shoveling while we're while I'm watching the kids and working inside. It was quite hectic, for sure.
I hate shoveling.
Yeah. My wife's a godsend. I have a bad back, so like I really can't be shoveling like a lot of snow. But I usually am the person who does it. It'll be interesting to see how tomorrow goes, but hopefully we'll get the kids out of the house a little bit to go play with friends or something. So anyway, we had a very exciting last couple of weeks for the Capitals. I'm gonna go over we haven't been on air for a while, so I want to kind of lead people up to where we are today. We're not going to go in depth in each of the games. As we get closer to now, we'll start to break down more and more of the game itself. And we'll also talk about any live updates. So feel free to interrupt me if I miss something and a goal happens, for sure. But let me just go back real quickly and go through just the general scores of the games in late December. Where we last left off, we did a podcast live in the Dallas one, which we always lose to Dallas. We lost that one 3-1. Then we went to Chicago the next night. We lost that game 3-2, which is rare. We usually have some good games in Chicago. Then we played Carolina at home, beat them 3-1. Also beat Los Angeles 3-1. Then we played Boston for the first time. We played them a couple of times on a Monday. We lose that one 4-1, which is disappointing. We have a good bounce back game on December 28th, 5 days later at Toronto, a 5-2 victory. And then on Sunday, December 29th, the next day we lost to Detroit. So that was a tough back-to-back with travel and all that sort of stuff. And then Tuesday, the 31st, we won against Boston. That's kind of where we'll pick it up with that game. And let me just try to open up my file to see if I can get this set up. But while I set all this up, Gil, why don't you let people know what happened on this week's episode of the Power Play Point podcast, and then I'll get this graphic up and running for us.
So yes, it was a little bit of a different schedule. I went ahead the week before, episode before. I took the initiative to go ahead and get a little ahead of things, catch up on the last 4 games of the 2024. So there'd be less to cover and maybe more in depth for this week's games. So there were only 2 games we covered, but we do have a mystery guest that was kind enough to pop in at the very last minute. I wonder if I should reveal who that person is.
No, we can talk about it. But yeah, it was so much fun. We'll talk a little bit more about this Saturday during that Saturday game when we discuss the Rangers. But I had a fun day with the play day. We were thinking about going to the game, but we ultimately saw it at a Rangers fan's household, and so that was kind of a fun experience. And because it was Zach's one of his best friends, and he loves all the New York teams, and Zach likes all of these teams, obviously. And so it was kind of a fun situation there where we got to, in a friendly banter, like watch a game, both families together, which was super fun. And then I kind of was like the post game, instead of calling into the radio, I called into your show. So it's kind of a fun. I had a 30-minute drive home, and it was perfect for that. So I even pulled over to the library and stayed on for an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, it felt very cool. It felt like we were doing a traditional call-in post-game show, focusing on the Rangers game, which of course was all kinds of bananas crazy. So that catch that we go into a lot of detail. There's a bit of a complaint, a bit of a point of debate, and we touch on that. If you're curious about that, I do have a Facebook reel / Instagram post. If you're on either one of those, we talk about that a little bit. And I guess the cat's out of the bag, but our mystery guest is featured on there, kind of talking about that point. But that's it. We cover the Minnesota game and the Rangers game, the Rangers game, for better or for worse, showed a lot of good points of the team and bad points of the team. So that's what to look forward to when you listen to our next episode.
Yeah, awesome. Janae, do you want to let people know real quickly what you've been doing on your YouTube channel, and then we'll start on these games?
Sure, yeah. I've been making post-game reaction videos for every Capitals game. I should forewarn you, I am a little bit behind in those videos right now because of a situation that I had in my personal life here. My upstairs neighbor flooded my condo, so I was not able to make videos. Yeah, it was pretty awful. He decided to, I guess, play plumber for a day and just rigged his own. I don't really understand what the firefighter was telling me like that he did. Like, I don't understand why you would do that. But anyways, the firefighter told me that he had essentially like tried to rig his shower to his toilet for some reason. I don't know why you would do that. But yeah, I guess that's what he did. And it flooded my condo. So I was not able to make those videos for probably just a little over a week while they were
talk about the world's worst bidet.
Yeah, that's
I was
what I was
thinking that must be what he was
envisioning
going
too.
for. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why else he would do that. But the firefighter said, like, and the guy from the restoration company that came too, they both said the same thing, like that it was only a matter of time until it burst, because he essentially had twice as much water going through that toilet line than should have been, like
Oh my
2 times as
God.
much water as it was actually rated for. So they were like, yeah, it was only a matter of time until this was always going to happen. Like, it was always going to burst and eventually flood your condo. So that's great. So that's what I had been dealing with. But yeah. So anyways, so the point of the story is that's why I am a little bit behind right now in those post game reaction videos, because I wasn't able to make them for probably about a week or two. I don't remember exactly how long, but I am starting to get caught up now. So I'm kind of like clearing the backlog of all of the games that I had missed and just kind of trying to catch up.
I think you should just do like a super episode, and like if you have like 3 left, just do 3 in one or something. Like
just all of them. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like at this point, like you know what I mean? Like
That's what I should have done. Like, I thought of that after the fact, but at this point, like, I've already recorded them all, so I just have
okay. Well,
to.
if you already have recorded them all, then that's fine. But it's just like don't do more work than you need to. Like people
Yeah,
will
I know. I
understand.
wish I had thought of that earlier, but I didn't think of it until after I had already recorded them all. So at this point now, it's just editing them and posting them up. But yeah, so hopefully I will be caught up soon with that, and then I'll just be back to like right after the game doing the video for every game, because it's a lot more fun to do the current game that you just watched versus like trying to go back and do games that happened like a week ago, because you don't really remember what happened. You kind of have to remind yourself of what happened.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot better to do it like right after the game. But yeah, so I should be caught up soon. So that's just on my YouTube channel, which is just under the name Janaea Talks Caps. You can find all those videos there for this season.
Awesome. All right, so we are starting one goal in because NHL website didn't have the first goal of this Boston game here.
I can briefly describe that goal really fast. Yeah, the Caps had they had a rush in. They cycled fairly quickly. Dubois basically made this play, recovered the puck behind the net, and threw it in front of a waiting Alexei Protas, who was maybe 2 feet in front of the crease and all by himself, and placed a very perfect shot past Swayman for the goal in that one to make it. I think they were behind, so it was a 1-1 game at that point. So that leads us to this next goal here.
Right. All right. I'll let you break this goal down as well.
Okay. So Caps get a power play here. So if I remember this right, okay. So Strome to Chychrun at the circle. Chychrun just throws it after. You don't see it, but this it didn't recover. But Carlson kind of held it and did all the dirty work, kind of setting up the cycle, and then Strome on the goal line finds Chychrun, who's got all this space, and he just walks up to the circle and just fires it for the 2-1 lead.
Yeah. Janae, what are some of your thoughts on this Jacob? I can't believe he already has 11 goals of the season. He's been phenomenal for us.
Yeah, I've just started, like, my nickname for him now is Blank Check. Like, give him whatever he wants, because he's been unbelievable. Like, that would be my number one priority for sure, is probably him and Thompson as far as like re-signing UFAs. But yeah, he's been amazing. Like, I believe Cale Makar might have got another one the other night, I think, but he was briefly tied for the league leading goals among defensemen. And pretty much all of his goals have been like just unbelievable shots like this too. Like, it's not like he's getting fluky goals. Like, they're just absolute cannons. So yeah, great to see him get another one here, especially against Boston. I love that. You guys know I love that. My uncle, the Bruins fan, always loved beating them. So I was very happy to see this goal to take the lead and eventually get the win.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
No, I love it. Love it. Chychrun, yeah, you had it down, Janae, as a cannon. I had it down as a bullet. Like, it's amazing, and I love who he's become as a Cap player, and I just think it's fantastic, and especially against Swayman. I kind of knew that guy was going to be a badass goalie a while ago, and he certainly is. But this was fantastic to see.
I agree. All right, and then the next goal is the Alexei Protas empty net goal. Protas has been incredible for us this season. Gil, he just uses kind of his length, right, to his advantage, and just is able to outskate people to the empty netter, and just his athleticism.
Pretty much, yeah. So a typical back end, last minute empty net squad here. Dowd wins the faceoff. Wilson does the dirty work, finds Protas streaking through the neutral zone, and yeah, like you said, he uses his reach to basically just walk it in that point and end the game.
Caps a scoring chance just there, gone awry, and a bouncing biscuit in the Buffalo zone, but they're able to clean it up here. But it's been a close back and forth game here in this live game as well. It's 22 to 21 in shots now, with the Caps just barely out shooting Buffalo.
It's hard not to react while the game's on, hey, while you're doing the
Yeah.
podcast. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm normally like staring and like
your reaction to help tune me into looking up
Yeah.
at that. That's fine. If people don't know, right now I have got 1, 2, 3. I've 6 screens going. So I'm watching Raw, the game. I have OBS. I have our Zoom meeting. I have our conversation. And I've got the stats on the phone right here, and I've got chat up as well. So it's a lot for sure.
Multitasking at its best.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into. Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot we need to say about this, but Janae, what are your thoughts on the Protos just sealing the deal?
Yeah, I just thought like it's nice to see him get the empty net goal because he deserved another goal. Like he's been playing so well, and he's already blasted past his previous career high, and we're not even halfway through the season. So
Yeah.
I think he's like tripled it already now. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's just playing unbelievable. Like he's really become a real impact player for the Caps, and still only 23 years old. So I think that's obviously it's a lot to do with him and a lot to do with Spencer Carberry as well. Just giving him the opportunity finally to become that player that he could always be. And so, yeah, I was just happy to see him get another goal, empty net or not. I think he deserves all the goals that he's getting right now.
Yep. And Anna, any final thoughts before we go to the next game?
Yeah, I'm 21. I'm loving Protas. I know I was a big fan of his last season, and not a lot of people were, but Gil and I talked a lot last season about him using his size. I think he's 6'5", 6'7", either way. Who cares? He's huge. He's talented, and I think he's got the confidence now to continue with this streak. And I couldn't be happier for number 21. And happy birthday to him today.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's right. He's 24 now.
Yeah, old man.
Man. Just turned 40, and so I just think about that, like how much older like Obi is than Protos, right? Like I just think of like the comparison. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Ovi's 25.
Exactly. All right, the first goal in the next game is Tom Wilson. There's a lot of Tom Wilson scoring in these next couple of games.
I'll keep saying that, Robbie, on repeat.
2 more tonight.
Yeah, exactly. 2 more tonight. So he's playing great. This first one is his 15th of the season. Halfway through the first period. Gil, want to take it from there?
Okay, so he actually starts and finishes the play, so goes behind the net, recovers it. Looks like Protas tries to get it. It's a bad clear, and then Sandin recovers at the line, and he throws it at the net.
I think
what can I say? You're gonna see another one kind of like this on the power play, but I keep saying it. It's a half joke at this point, but I think I am convinced that Tom Wilson took TJ Oshie lessons this summer because he knew he was going to replace him in the bumper spot, in the front of the goal spot. And here he is again doing it. A lot of his goals have come from that area, and here he is again taking full advantage of, positioning himself just right, and then using his skill to get it in.
Yeah. Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Tommy, you know what? I'm loving it. I'm loving everything about Tom Wilson's season. 100%. We've said it before, but he's really come into that leadership role. He's consistent and just an absolute badass. And seeing where he is positioned and just doing everything right. And I love it. And I love the fact that even as we're watching this game, he's got 2 goals tonight, and good for him.
Yeah, for sure. Janaea, your thoughts on Tom Wilson's season so far?
Yeah, just I think that's bang on about him taking TJ Oshie lessons. I think Wilson even had mentioned that how last season, like, because Oshie kind of recognized that like he was kind of coming to the end of his time in the league, that Oshie would even like kind of get off the ice a little bit earlier than he had to on the power plays to let Tom Wilson go out and have some more reps at it. Which like what a leader TJ Oshie is. We all know that already. But yeah, just taking himself off the ice early on the power play, sacrificing some goals and points for himself to get Tom Wilson out there and get him ready to take over, whether it was going to be the next season or the season after. And you can see it now, like those reps really mattered because like Tom Wilson, whoever thought that Tom Wilson would be leading the Washington Capitals in power play goals halfway through the season. Like on a team that includes the nuclear weapon that is Alex Ovechkin. Like that, I know Ovi missed a month and a half, but still, like it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I love to see that. I'm so happy for him. People that obviously it wasn't Caps fans saying it, but fans of other teams around the league saying that his contract was gonna be a bad one. They look pretty dumb now. I'll just say that.
Agreed.
So he's not wearing the full fishbowl tonight, and
No.
he just got whacked in the face, and so it's just like
It's come
I would
on.
feel like you should just keep the fishbowl, but then you can also draw minors, and you almost did with that. So I guess it's just weird that happened like in the live moment, right as we're talking about him.
And he won't get anything because it's Tom Wilson.
Right. But it's funny because I feel like other people would have. Anyway, so fast. Wait, hold on. Second period. I think this thing didn't show up right in the right order.
Come on.
I'm not sure why.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry, that's my fault. 3, 4.
Mangiapane's killing me here. He's at a couple he should have buried.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, that was my fault. It should have been the Strom goal first. Is that right? Or no? I have the wrong game up.
Yeah. Which one are we doing now?
Okay. Sorry. We scored.
Oh,
are you ahead? You must be ahead.
You must be ahead of us.
Yeah, how are
Sorry,
you ahead
I
of us
just
then?
realized.
Okay.
How did you get so far ahead?
Dubois to Chikrin. Chikrin's on the half board. Point shot block. Chikrin all across the point to Carlson. Wide of the net. Way wide of the net. Chikrin's got it on the half boards again. I guess that looks like Strom holding at the point. Throws it at the net.
Ooh.
I don't see. Oh, okay. So
Right there.
Carlson, I'm way behind.
Wow, Anna, you're way ahead.
I was just gonna say I thought I was like looped. I thought I was with you guys, and then
I
I
don't
was
know how
like,
you
no
even
one's
did that. Yeah, it's like
replying. Holy
you're ahead of like reality here.
Yeah.
Way
Carlson
ahead.
throws. Okay,
I
it's a
love-
Protus tip in.
Yes.
So we were just
Protus
talking about him.
again.
So
Cheers, bro. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
there you go.
Big old cheers. Woohoo.
That's a big
So
goal.
I think I loaded these videos in wrong, so I'm gonna take the blame on this. So just for speed purposes, because there's a lot of goals in the next game, we'll just say that Ovechkin got a power play goal in the second period, and it was because Martin had some dental work, and he basically the tooth got knocked, and that was good enough for 2-minute power play as a double minor, and Ovi scored on the power play as a result, and then Favari comes back in the third period and scores a goal of his own, actually his first of the season, so it clearly riled him up. And that made it 3-2. Unfortunately, they tied it up, made it 3-3, goes to the shootout, and unfortunately, Obi can't get one more past the Flower. I do like that he got one against him, and probably his final game against him. And it was a great battle, and the Wild are very used to being in these close games. They're the team that has played the most tied in the league. So they're very used to these battles that are very close. So I'll just get your general thoughts on it, and then we'll move into this Rangers game. And we'll start off with you, Anna. What were some of your thoughts on this Wild game?
Happy to see Tommy, always. I'm glad to see that number 15. And of course, who doesn't love an Ovechkin goal assisted by Strom? Amazing. And like we said, with the flower, he had a respectful comment after the game about Ovechkin, and I think that's always very cool to see that he is rooting for him as much as he can. There is a respect there. Man, Faravari, like how do you not, you get not your tooth, all of that just grosses me out. But what a beast. Good for him. But I will say, not loving, and I know we talked about this the other day, but not loving the putting Ovi in number 3 in the shootout.
Yeah, I don't like that. He truly took one for the team, as they say, and so but
Just
incredible
not,
stuff
it's
to come
just
back.
not, he shouldn't have been there. Not
Right.
not the
He's
third.
had some bad luck of being around like pucks and sticks lately, just in general. So he's
Right.
they kind of run through it. Some people are just magnets to pucks. Sometimes of the years, it's just kind of crazy. Janae, what were some of your thoughts on this up and down game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game, first of all, between two top teams. It was just a really great game to watch. Cap's first shootout of the season. That's crazy. We're like halfway through the season. So, and you could tell that they have not had a lot of practice at it. They were not very good in the shootout at all. So I was kind of hoping that they would just finish it in overtime. Obviously, the shootout is an area where we're always going to miss TJ Oshie and Kuznetsov too.
Yeah.
So you could kind of tell that they didn't really know what they were doing in the shootout. I'm of the mind that if you're gonna put Ovechkin in the shootout, I want him to just come down and just like full wind up slap shot, just crank it. Like just that's what I want to see. But yeah, it was cool regardless to see. I think part of that was like they kind of wanted to have like the Ovi versus Fleury one more time. I believe like Carberry's a fan of the game, right? Carberry's a fan of the game of hockey, so I think he kind of like he wanted that one more time. Ovi had already got him once during the game as well. So, and yeah, Fleury with some really classy comments after the game called Ovechkin the best player in the world, and it's been such a great battle over the years. Like Ovechkin's got him obviously a number of times. Like he's the goalie that he's scored on the most throughout his entire career. Actually, the goalies that Ovi has scored on the most, it's like a crazy list. It's like 3 of the best goalies of all time. It's like Marc-Andre Fleury, Henrik Lundqvist, and Carey Price, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, it was great to watch that battle for one more time. Happy to see Ovi get him one more time. And yeah, it's just been so great over the years. Like Ovi, like I said, he's got Fleury a number of times. Fleury's gotten Ovi a number of times too, with a number of big saves. So it's just been a really great battle over the years. And sad that that'll probably be the last time that we see it, with Fleury retiring at the end of the season. But yeah, he's one player. Like you guys know, I'm a goalie too, so I have certain goalies that I really like. And yeah, as much as I hate the Pittsburgh Penguins, like he was always the one Pittsburgh Penguin that I just couldn't hate. Like I've always liked him. So sad that he's coming to the end of his career, but it's been a great career. So congrats to him.
For sure, it's just so fun to have been able to cover, his career and I don't know. It's just we're so lucky to get to see this witness greatness, night in and night out, and it's just kind of it's been an incredible run, and it's just funny. Did you know, Gil, the PenFed trivia question about which team he had the most game-winning goals against tonight before they answered it?
It's got to be, well, the hint that Joe Beninati gave, I would have to imagine it's a constant division rival. So I was thinking maybe one of the 2 Pennsylvania teams.
Right. So they just showed the answer, and I had it, which was the Islanders. And it was 11 times, which is wild, that he's beaten them. So it's a pretty impressive stat there. So he's getting close to beating Yager in that statistic, which I think is maybe in some ways a more impressive number, right? Because game-winning goals is more than just, people say, oh, all the empty netters. Well, if he's also the best at game-winning ones, then the empty netters
it's
really
it's
matter,
goals
right?
that mean 10 times more.
Right, exactly. So he's got those too. So
and also Gretzky had like practically the exact same amount of empty netters. So I don't get that logic at all.
No.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that they're at almost exactly the same clip. It's weird. Like he might do it like within a game or two of when Gretzky, set the record. And which is pretty wild, especially I thought the injury, could slow him down. I've been very impressed with his play, since he's come back. I mean, he could have, in very obvious reasons, been much slower. And so credit to him and his fitness and his workout, and he was clearly doing everything he could to be ready, game one. So we're a minute 40 left in the third period here. Or I don't even know, Anna, how much do you have left?
Oh my God, 107. I am so sorry. I was following along and listening to Janae's countdown, and I was like, I was good. And then apparently not.
She hit the skip ahead button. Janae, what are you at right now?
1:16, 15,
okay, yeah, we're
14.
Still the same. Yeah. All right. So we're about to hit the final minute of the third, unless Anna gets very excited.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hide.
All right, final minute of the third here. At this point, I just kind of want us to hold on and get the point. Which I know Buffalo's not a good team, but sometimes, I mean, they had just lost 2 games on the road. They're only coming home for 1 game. They really want this game because they go back on the road again right afterwards. And that's the thing about hockey is it's how desperate the team you're playing that night is more than it is anything else. I find like you could be the worst team and we lose to them, or we beat the best teams on different nights. So it's just how desperate can you be in your hockey? It seems to be like, and I feel like both teams played really well in this game. It's not like
Thompson is like insane.
Yeah.
Buffalo Thompson.
Yeah.
My God.
He's such a big rig,
I mean, damn. But yeah, I've got, so we're tied.
It's now we went to overtime.
Too bad. Good chance right at the end.
All right, so let's see if we can get through some of this Ranger game. So I alluded to earlier, my son's best friend, we're watching the game together. He very much taunts, like, we scored first. And his parents were like, our team sucks. Like, don't get too excited. Like, so, like, the parents were very much, And it's funny because his dad was like, we live here and I've lived here the last 25 years. I'd be okay if he adopted the Caps and the Commanders. He has to still root for the Yankees. Like, that's his, life. He doesn't care about the other two as much. So I'm like, he's a pretty cool dad. Like, at least he's a New Yorker that would be like okay with his son, doing that. Which I have appreciation for that because my dad is a New York transplant and I moved down here. So I get a bit of that as well. I'm happy that Dylan Strome did tie it up here on this goal, and I'll let Gil take it from there.
Okay, so Caps are on the power play here. Chychrun throws it at the net. It gets spit back out again. Carlson collects. Chychrun throws it again. And this time it's Strome in the bumper position, looks like, with Ovi doing some cover as well. And he manages to play the roll to a plum and gets it in the net.
Yeah. Janae, what were some of your thoughts on this Dylan Strome goal?
Yeah, I love Dylan Strome, so I always love it when he scores, but he's been so great all season. He's been so great since he got here, if we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just continuously improved every season. And yeah, he's like, this goal for me was huge because the Caps have been so good at this all season. Like, the other team scores and they're the top team in the league at getting the next goal after they get scored on. Like, they come back and score the next goal the highest percentage of the time of any team in the league. Like, so they're really good at like answering like this. And I think that's why they have the record that they do, or it's one of the reasons that they have the record that they do, because it's very rare that they get down by more than 1 goal because they're answering so often. So I love this goal. I was like really not wanting to spend my Saturday morning losing to Peter Laviolette. So it was a good response here. It made me feel good right before the end of the period that we were going to be okay.
Funny, I was talking about my dad being a New Yorker, and he came up in chat, so he's actually watching now. So hi, Dad. Welcome to Twitch chat. And so the next goal is a Lars Eller goal, and I'm so happy that Tiger is back. He looks so much better in our colors than the Penguins. It made me so sad every time that I watched the Penguins and saw him. And so with that, Gil, why don't you break down this Lars Eller goal?
Yep, another bookender here. Faravari starts it with the stretch pass to McMichael. They cycle after the McMichael zone gain. So Faravari gets it back at the point, throws it at the point. from the point to the goal. Eller's charging the net and gets the stick on it, pass quick, and Caps get the lead.
Yeah. I'm excited in wrestling. There was a belt that was just changed hands. So a big moment in that storyline that we'll be talking about in the next hour. So that's kind of cool as well. It is overtime now. I have 4:40 left in mind. I'm sure Anna.
It's about where I'm at.
Anna's like, I'm to the shootout already.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is funny because when I first started on Sports on the Hill, I felt like I was like 15 minutes behind because Robbie and Carol would be talking about stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, the puck just dropped.
It seems like it's better luck if you're ahead of us. So
and I apologize. Like I truly was listening to like Janaea Countdown. I was watching it all and it was like, holy shit.
It'd be funny if people saw the what happens behind the scenes to try to get people to sync across like different states and countries. So, all right, let's jump to the next goal here. Gil, do you want to break down how we made it 3-1?
Yeah, Mangiapane beats the Rangers to the icing. Looks like a Fox to clear out the icing. Gets it back to Sandin. They cycle, and nice tic-tac-toe play right here. Run it again. So it's auto running. So Mangiapane holds it, gets it back to the point. Sandin over to Dowd. Looks like, yep. And then Dowd finds Mangiapane in the slot. Easy goal.
Yeah, this is ends up being kind of an important goal because it kind of gives them some momentum. I know the Rangers were trying to drag some back. There's a goal called back in the next section of the game as well. Janaea, what were some of your thoughts on this goal that made it 3-1?
Yeah, I mean, Gil said it all pretty much. Like just a beautiful goal, tic-tac-toe. I think the Caps this season, like they're so good at like this is a big reason why their offense has been so good, is like they just read off of each other so well. They're so good at like the crossover plays in the offensive zone, like just kind of like tricking teams almost, like nobody knows where they're going to be. And they do a lot of like swaps and switches and crossovers, and it works really well here. I actually like I didn't even see this play coming, and normally I do because we're watching it on TV. It's a lot easier to see it versus when you're on the ice. But it was just a beautiful backdoor pass. And this fourth line, like no matter who's been on it, has been so great. So glad to see them get another goal here. Nick Dowd, the one constant on the fourth line, no matter who you put next to him, that fourth line is one of the best in the league always. So
agreed.
Great player.
It blows my mind that how they managed to find people that work well with Nick Dowd.
Yeah.
Last year it was I'm blanking on his name. We just traded him to the Sabres.
Mallenstein.
Beck Mallenstein. Yeah. He was pretty good. This year it's Duhaime and Radish, and now Mangiapane taking a tour on that line. It just doesn't seem to matter who you put with him. They'll do the two-way dirty work.
Yeah, people were worried about it when we traded Hathaway, right? That the fourth line was going to go downhill, and then it was even better next season with Mallenstein. And then people were worried when we traded Mallenstein, and now it's even better with Duhaime and Radish. So no matter who they put on that line, it just seems to be great no matter who's on it.
We have an opportunity here in the offensive zone. 3 minutes left in overtime, at least on my view. And we're trying to cycle the puck. We'll see if we're able to get one pass, and we're bringing it back and trying to reset here. While they do that, we can get into the Connor McMichael power play goal that I thought was beautiful. Gil, what were some of your thoughts on this one?
Yes, this was absolutely great. So to start it, Mangiapane throws it around the half boards to Strome. He did, and I love when Strome does this. You've seen this. We've probably seen this like 5 or 6 times, I want to say, this season, where he gets it at one of the circles and just holds it and just holds it and just holds it. And he waits for the exact right time for somebody to get into the right position, and boom, goal. Whether it's, in this case, McMichael, sometimes Ovechkin, sometimes somebody else. But yeah, it's Janaea was saying how Strome was improving. I think this is one of the ways he's improved, finding that right timing. Not that he was bad at it before, but it was great to see. And I think we're spoiler alert, we're due for something good about to happen here.
I just saw Anna out of the corner of my eye too.
Yeah, me too.
It was so close. It was so close. You'll see it.
Okay, so Ovi's got it. He's hanging on to it at the boards. He's hanging on. He's hanging on. He's got 2 sabers on him, and he loses it.
Oh my God.
He gets it back. Oh, he's got a semi breakaway, and and the goalie with the
camera off.
the Hawaiian disease name got it. 2-on-1 sabers here. Charlie will do the Charmin squeeze and let it go anyway. Okay, Caps have it back. Ovi's at center. Sabres. Oh God, Sabres have a breakaway. Charlie with another 10-bell save.
Wow.
And he glove passed it, and the stupid ref called it frozen anyway.
Blowing the whistle for?
The ref blew the play dead because he thought Lindgren held it. He didn't.
Caps are about to be away on a 3-on-1, and the ref blows the whistle.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they were.
That was about as quick as you can possibly play it for Lindgren too.
Yeah.
Not quick enough in the referee's eye.
I think the referee didn't see that he shoveled it away.
And yet in the last game against Buffalo, there was a 40-second scrum where nobody could see the puck and they refused to blow the whistle dead?
That was the one with Sandin, right? I lost my mind in my post-game reaction video over that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
All right, here we go. Final minute.
No, I don't want another shootout.
All right, Carlson will start the breakout. Fumbled it at the line. Sabres get it back. 42 seconds left. Sabres turn to reverse and break out. They're at center. It's like Paterka's at the circle. He'll find Thompson for the shot. And Lindgren will squeeze.
It's funny that if we're going to be in a second shootout in just a few games here, that Lindgren happened to be a net for both, because I don't think Thompson's let in a breakaway all season.
Yeah. I kind of wish that they just switched to Thompson right before overtime.
Yeah, I get that you don't want a guy to get injured, but he's so insanely good on breakaways.
Also, it's hard to go cold into an overtime.
23-7 left is what I got.
Yep, I'm in the same spot.
Spencer working the gum. Okay, Dubois in a battle behind the net. It's at the half boards, and it's, cleared. All right, Buffalo's going to reverse. They'll break. It's going to be the last play of overtime here. Gain the zone, shoot. Charlie with the glove. Throws it in the corner. We're going to the skills competition, folks.
Wow. All right. Well, while they get ready for that, we're going to go through these quickly. The Connor McMichael goal. Did we go over that? I know.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Janaea, Anna, any other thoughts on this one, or should we keep on going?
I'd say keep on going.
I'm not going to lie. I'm lost. I was into the overtime stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about Alexei Protas now, which we definitely always like to do. This one is a backhand shot that made it 6-4 for the good guys. Gil, why don't you take it from there?
So this one, this was probably, of all of the crazy goals, that were scored in this short sequence in the third period, this was probably the craziest. So Chychrun finds a stretch pass to Strotus. I can't talk anymore. To Protas, who gains the zone. He drops it for Dubois. Dubois takes the shot. It hits the post, bounces back towards Quick. Protas actually, watch this here. Protas actually beats Quick to the puck before Quick even knows what's going on. And then you can't see it here, but Protas then, once he has the puck, turns around so he shields the puck from any of the Rangers coming at him, and then puts it between his legs into the net. Insanity.
Such a nice goal.
Yeah.
It was, but I'm stressing that they're starting Thompson with the shootout. So
they are?
Yep.
Oh, Buffalo, you mean?
Buffalo Thompson.
I thought you meant us. I'm I'm just not gonna look at. I'm just not gonna look
Sorry.
at Anna.
I know.
I'm
I should exit, right? I should
gonna
call it
cover your
night.
face here. I'm putting my thumb over your face if that's okay.
Pro wrestling, I think that's called a swerve.
All right, Gil, do you want to call this shootout? I think
I don't want to, but I will.
Yeah.
All right, so Tage Thompson lining up at center, the $8 million man. Lines up. He takes it real slow, circling. Lindgren waiting, and Lindgren with the pad save.
Boy, Chuck.
Lindgren had that glove ready. He was waiting for Thompson to go high, but Thompson goes low. Lindgren was ready with the pad.
Ooh, Dubois.
Yeah, PLD, the starter for the Caps here. He'll take it at center. Goes wide right. Winding from the circle. Waiting. And it's in!
Attaboy.
The back of the net. I love that.
I don't think I've ever seen him in the shootout before.
I was just gonna say that's like the first time I've seen that. I think he's got really good hands, though.
It's very good hands. It's a crime that he's doesn't have more goals yet this year.
Yeah.
All right, who we got for the Sabres here? I can't see the number. 33, 32. Doesn't matter. Lindgren was ready for him with the glove.
Ooh. So if we score here, it's over, right?
Yep. So
Anita's here whispering who she wants to shoot.
23. The life of me, I did not know who that was. Okay, so who do we have here? Looks like
Strome.
Yep, it's Strome. Good guy to have. Waiting, cocking, and nope.
Fuck.
Cool hand Luukkonen gets the pad down.
No. Fuck.
Where? Oh yeah. So Strome tried to go high. Luukkonen got enough of a piece of it to divert it. Okay, so who's this lining up for the Sabres? Looks like Alex Tuck.
Yep.
I kind of wish Braden Holtby would be reincarnated here.
No
Lindgren waiting, got
shit.
the glove flow, and Tuck lives up to his name and just gets it in.
Man, Chucky had that with the paddle.
He had it, yeah. He had the paddle down and just one move too many.
I mean, he got completely danced, but then he got the paddle down, but then he just missed.
Yeah. What a move, though.
That thing is 2 inches more to the right. It doesn't go in. Okay, so we're at the end of round 3. Looks like they got Carlson, of all people, lined up. He's going to wind. Goes center, blasts it, net, pad save. We go on.
Oh, fuck. I know. I'm going to call it a night. It's 9:55.
Oh, no. That's not a good sign.
No. The fuck.
Okay, Sabres are lined up.
That was just he didn't even try.
Well, that's what he's not known for his moves. He's known for blasting it.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh man, Sabres get one here.
Yeah.
I already know what happens.
Who is that? Pajerka?
My dad's already in chat. So.
All right, we're done.
Frickin' Paterka.
Damn.
Stick side.
Right, so who do we have?
But it didn't like Charlie.
If you're gonna go, I hate to say this, but if you're gonna go anywhere on Charlie, it's gonna be the stick side. Chychrun lining up here.
Nothing.
Nope. Ran out of room.
Okay.
Bummer.
Yeah,
All right.
I hate the shootout. I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely. This is no way to settle a game. This is not a way to settle a game that people get paid to play. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm happy that on the World Junior Classic that they that we had 3-on-3 overtime and it wasn't decided that way. I know that the bronze medal match was, but And I even think that's kind of, but I understand for timing purposes, like they had to have that game end to have the gold medal match, but like it sucks to lose a bronze medal on a shootout as well. So, all right, and I did promise I'd let you out a long time ago. I'm sorry
Yeah,
that
it's okay.
but at least we got a point out of it, and I appreciate you joining us on the winter season premiere. And any final things you want to let people know about before we let you go?
No, just happy 2025, and let's hope for some more wins.
Right, and I hope to actually go to school and work from work. I know it's such a weird thing, like, but I just would be nice to like actually be out of my house for a little bit. So,
Oh, I get
uh,
it.
yeah. So, um, it's funny because I love snow days, but I just don't love them like when they're against a holiday as well. So,
Right.
but anyway, well, thank you for joining us, and I hope that you have a good day. You have a day off tomorrow, I assume.
Yes.
Uh, and
Yes.
so
But all the things that were supposed to happen today and supposed to happen tomorrow are stressing me out a little bit about rescheduling. But there's only so much you can do. So we'll see
it's
what
true.
happens.
Yep, for
But
sure.
yeah, so enjoy your snow days. Janae, enjoy your flip-flops, which is like my favorite shoe apparel ever. And we'll talk to you, Gil. I'll talk to you Sunday.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, and I'm assuming you guys are talk about the Hershey game.
Yes, I'm gonna have Gil talk about the Hershey game, and they're also gonna talk about the World Junior, before in the next 10-15 minutes. So that'll be our next segment. So it's a great
Okay.
segue. So
Perfect segue. All right. Well, have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night,
sounds
Anna.
Night, Anna.
Thanks. Bye.
all right. I do want to look at the schedule ahead. I do know that we had two more games to talk about the Rangers, but we'll just put it this way: that we won with 7-4, and I'm just happy that Tom Wilson and Protas both got goals along with Ovi in that third period. And it was just nice to always get a win over the Rangers. But here, I'm going to switch our camera back to the main scene for a second and stop this and just get your guys' take, obviously, on the end of the Rangers game. And then, it's a bummer to lose this game, but I thought we still played, pretty well for the most part. But I'll let Janaea start. What is your take on how the Caps have been doing overall?
Yeah, I think like they've how do I put this nicely? They've kind of let their not necessarily let their foot off the gas, but like they're kind of going through a bit of a lull. Like I don't think it's from an effort standpoint. I just think like when you play 82 games, like you're just gonna have stretches where you're not as good as you can be. And I think we've seen that a little bit. Now the positive is that they've still managed to keep a very, very good record, even when not playing so well. Like there's been games where I thought they really weren't very good at all and they still won in regulation. So probably the couple of games against Boston, I didn't think they were very good. Like they just didn't seem like they were awake. They were like flubbing a bunch of their passes and couldn't really connect anything, and just kind of really messy, sloppy games. And yet they were, even that first game against Boston, like it ends as a 4-1 loss, but like they were right in that game up until like the last 6 minutes of the third period. Even with playing probably their sloppiest game of the season, like I think they had 11 shots on net, right, for the entire game. So to be right in that game up until the final 6 minutes, that just shows that they're still a really hard team to beat, even when they're playing like pretty much as bad as they possibly could in that game. And then even the next game against Boston, again, I thought they were pretty sloppy, but they get the win, right? There's been a few games like that where like I didn't think they were very good, but they still got the 2 points because they're just a good team. So that's encouraging that that's what you always want to see for sure. Like even on nights when you don't have your best, because there are going to be a lot of nights like that in an 82 game season, that you're still able to pull out a lot of points to keep your standing like within the standings. So I've been happy with that they've been finding ways to win even when they don't have their best. But I'd like to see them soon here kind of turn the corner again and get back to how they were playing for maybe the first 30 games of the season or so.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to talk a little bit about the World Junior And then I also want to talk about Hershey. I think we'll talk World Juniors first, and then we get Janae out of here, and then Gil can talk about throwing some teddy bears in the last segment. But they both kind of are related to the Capitals and the future of the franchise. Before I do that, I do want to talk about the upcoming games for just a second. We're playing Vancouver as our next game on Wednesday at the 7:30 game in Washington, and then we play Montreal on Friday, and then it's a back-to-back where you have to go to Nashville on Saturday, an 8 o'clock game, and then the next game after that will be Tuesday against Anaheim and DC. So a bit of a helter-skelter schedule because then we're going to go to at Ottawa and then back home in Pittsburgh, and it's a lot of this bouncing back and forth in the upcoming schedule. But Gil, in the short term, Vancouver, Montreal, Nashville. What are your thoughts on the week ahead for the Capitals?
Well, Anna and I actually discussed this on our most recent episode. You got quite a few teams there that are either in turmoil internally, and or not exactly having great seasons. So the one knock on this team so far has been that when they shouldn't be, they play down to their opponent more often than not, meaning, they play at a level less than they should be because they think they're going to have an easier time of it. Well, this week is a good test to try and break that habit. I've often said that the regular season is where habits are made and broken. Bad habits can be broken, good habits can be made. So I think quietly enough, this will be a good test to see what they can do, given this line of competition. You would think on paper anyway, it should at least be 4 points, maybe even 6 points. But I'm not so sure. Montreal always plays them tough. Vancouver, I don't know. I don't know what game to game you're going to get from them. So that's going to be a toss up. And Nashville, if any, might be the one guaranteed 2 points. But we thought that about Chicago a few weeks ago. Look what happened there. So I don't know. Anybody else's guess is as good as mine.
Right. Real quickly, I almost forgot one thing because we did quickly gloss over the last 2 goals of the Rangers game. I want to give credit to Tom Wilson for his 16th and empty netter at 1922 because of the Nuggets. And so we took advantage of the Nuggets. The next night we needed a late night meal, and I was like, Tom Wilson. and we got the Nuggets. I just wanted to share that story. So shout out to Tom for coming through in the clutch. And so I appreciated that. And Janae, what are some of your thoughts on the upcoming week for the Capitals?
Yeah, I mean, first on that empty net goal, I just got to say, I love Caps fans. They're hilarious. I love the audible collective groan when Ovechkin passed that puck to Tom Wilson. It's not what they want to see. They just want to see number 8 put it in the empty net. But I thought it was a great play because Ovi was down on his stomach and there was no way he was going to be able to shoot it. So it was a great pass. But
Ovi had an opportunity at the empty net just a few moments before that didn't go his way. And so I am happy that they didn't try to force it twice, because that's the one thing you don't want to do. So,
and he's got what is it now, 19 goals in 23 games. He doesn't need empty netters. He's scoring an insane clip without them. So it'll be fine. But a big win against the Rangers, and looking forward. I'm with Gil. I would definitely like to see 2 out of 3 of these games being wins at least. I would like to say 3 out of 3. One of them is the one that like Gil said, might be the easiest of the 3 games. So that happens to be the one that's on the second half of the back-to-back. So that makes it a little bit tougher. We saw that with Chicago. You would think that would be 2 points, but you go in on the second half of a back-to-back and kind of anything can happen. So depending if you have your legs or not. But yeah, I'd like to see 4 out of 6 points for sure. It's interesting that the Caps have the record that they do right now because they actually had the second toughest strength of schedule in the entire league, up to the point that we went on the Christmas break. So they've already played the toughest part of their schedule. They have, I believe it's the 6th easiest schedule remaining of any team in the league because they already had that tough first half where they had a lot of back-to-backs, a lot of really good teams. So they've come out of that really, really well. So now, kind of to Gil's point, I want to see when they do have this easier schedule for the last half of the season, can they keep their foot on the gas and kind of like really shove it down the throats of the teams that they should be shoving it down their throats. Like you don't want to see them playing down to their competition. I don't think this game in Buffalo tonight, I don't think they really did that. I think it was just kind of Buffalo was actually playing surprisingly well. I don't want to see them over the last half of the season here take their foot off the gas, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just want to see them continue doing what they've been doing, even if it's against teams that they maybe don't get as jacked up to play against.
Yeah, I agree. And I think tonight came to some of that desperation hockey I was talking about. They had lost 2 in a row and they needed to win, and they're not going to see their home fans for a little bit. And so they wanted to get one in there, before. So I get that. And I just from emotionally, we just had a big win on national TV against the Rangers. So I think that, desperation might not be there in that same way for our team. So, for sure. I do want to say we're not going to get to jinx them for quite some time because they don't play again on Monday until March. So it's going to be a long time until we get one of these games again. And I think that's the last Monday night game of the season. So I think we only have one more. So we had a couple here. I know we did this one and the finale of the fall were both live games and losses. But I just wanted our listeners to know that this is actually an anomaly. We won't have another game for quite some time. At least a Caps game live on air. So let's talk about the World Juniors a little bit because I know both of you guys were into that. I actually was able to watch the final game, but Jay, I'll let you talk first about some of these Caps prospects, both an outstanding captain and an outstanding defender, 2 of the best players in the tournament. Both are Caps prospects, but what were some of your thoughts on this tournament?
Yeah, probably literally the 2 best players in the tournament were Ryan Leonard and Cole Hudson. So I think from Ryan Leonard, like everybody expected that. Like he's an 8th overall pick. He's the captain of Team USA. Like everybody has known for 2 years now how good this guy is. I think for Cole Hudson, like Caps fans kind of got introduced to him a little bit more during this World Juniors. I do believe like I was probably one of the only people that loved that trade. Like Gil and I had talked about it and kind of argued about it a little bit. And I love Beck Mallenstein. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Beck Mallenstein. But I just I follow the prospect stuff quite a bit. So like I really like that trade. I didn't understand why Buffalo did that. Other than that, the only way you could kind of understand it from Buffalo's point of view was that they have a really good group of young defensemen already, like really, really good. With like they have Dolly and they have Owen Power. They have like they're really set there. But yeah, I love that trade from the time that it happened, and so I feel a little bit vindicated right now that he had the World Juniors that he just had. But he looks incredible. Like he looks really, really good. He I can't tell the difference when I'm watching him between like him and like a Quinn Hughes in the NHL. So they look exactly the same. Just skating wise, like moving the puck, all of the head fakes, walking the blue line, all that stuff. So I'm excited about him as a player, and he's the first defenseman ever, right, to lead the World Juniors tournament in scoring, which is insane when you think about like the defensemen that have come through that World Juniors tournament, that no defenseman has ever led the World Juniors in scoring. He's the first one to do it. That's crazy. So congratulations to him and to Team USA, to Ryan Leonard, to all of the Caps prospects. Eric Smateko too had a really, really, really good tournament for Latvia. Like an insanely good tournament. He scored the shootout winner against Team Canada. It's the first time Canada has ever lost to Latvia in hockey. So while embarrassing for me and horrible, I was happy to see Matejko getting the winner there. He had a really good tournament. I think he finished with 5 goals. And yeah, like Caps prospects basically took over this World Juniors pretty much. Like they highlighted that on TSN the other night, just how good all of the Caps prospects were playing, not just the Team USA guys, but Matejko, Sikora had a really good tournament. There was a number of them. And then of course the big snub was Andrew Crystal being left off Team Canada. He probably would have helped that team a lot, not being able to score. I won't get into that because that's a whole can of worms, but yeah, Andrew Crystal should have been on Team Canada as well.
Sounds good. Gil, what are some of your thoughts on this tournament?
Ryan Leonard, what can you say? I mean, he's going to add the element the Caps have long been missing. Well, I don't want to say missing. I mean, they've got it to some extent. They lost it a bit with TJ Oshie in effect being, retired. for lack of a better term. He's not officially, of course, but and what I'm talking about though is that desire to win, is that hatred of losing. Leonard has that in spades and beyond. And once he makes the club, and he will make the club eventually, whether it's as early as this playoffs or as late as maybe a year or two down the road. But and I'm not the only one saying this, he is probably going to be future captain material. When and if Wilson decides to give that up, hang up his skates, Ryan Leonard will most likely be the next captain of the Capitals. He has that much fire in him, that much grit in him, that much, all right, boys, follow me into battle in him. And it's evident every time he takes the ice, and you can't help but love the guy if he's on your team. Cole Hudson. Okay. Janaea, yes, I'm eating my words. Let me say this. He is next in a line of, well, this is the wave of defensemen. When I was watching hockey, defensemen had to be 6'2", 6'4", 6'5", 220, bang people, push people away from the crease. That is not the case anymore. And now that I think about it, I think we talked about this when we got together over the summer. Cole Hudson is the latest in a long line of defensemen that are the exact opposite. This is the new way of what defensemen ought to be. It started with Cale Makar. You talked about somebody else who's a lot like that, Quinn Hughes. Cole Hudson is the heir apparent to that right now. Very skilled, not very big at all, but very skilled, very fast, very good skater, knows what to do with the puck, whether he's shooting it or passing it. Defense is no longer defense. Defense is now your best offense. Other guy doesn't have the puck. You've got the puck. You play keep away. He can't catch you. Guess what? You're playing defense. That is the new brand of defenseman. Cole Hudson is that guy now. Is the torchbearer, I think. Makar's great. He's going to burn awfully bright, but when it comes to who has the best career, I think Cole Hudson has a great chance of breaking a lot of records. Real quickly, the other prospects, Matejko, I'd love to see a Latvian on the team. They got some spirit to them. Sikora, I think, is going to be a super pest. I love the way the Canadian fans trolled him, and he just trolled them right back. I couldn't be prouder of this crop of prospects that we have right now.
Real quickly, because I need to refill my water glass, but I wanted Gil to tell the teddy bear story. So I'm going to have him tell you, Janae. I'm going to be listening while I refill my glass.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
But I'm going to share the screen and have it on, because Gil had a little video, and I'll let him narrate it while I go fill my glass real quick. Hold on. Let me see if I get this to work, and then that should be appearing again. And Gil, I'll let you tell your story.
Okay, so this is, I don't know if you're familiar with the annual tradition. It's to help out a local children's hospital there. But yeah, every time, I'm sure you know about it because they're not the only franchise that does it, but they pick a game, and when the home team scores the first goal, people bring teddy bears and rain them down on the ice, and that's what this was. And this is my crude, I took 2 videos. It's kind of embarrassing as hell because the first video, I had my camera up, and one of my friends next to me was like elbowing me and said, "Gil, it's not on. Your camera's not on. You're not recording." So I actually missed the initial throwdown. But yeah, as you can see, it's a wild time. The players have fun, the fans have fun. Look at that. Look at the glass. The glass is filled up with all those teddy bears ready to be tossed on the ice. And of course, the downside is they had to stop the game for like 40 minutes to clean everything up. But it was pretty wild. I don't know if you saw in the video, but the goalie for the Bears, the starting goalie for the Bears, Clay Stevenson, was practically swimming in teddy bears. I tried to get a close up of that. As I'm swirling around here, there's somebody trying to throw a big black bear on the ice. One of my other friends who went to the game had a giant fluorescent pink teddy bear he threw onto the ice.
They could barely get that one over the glass.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I unfortunately we only had one stuffed animal among us at our house, and so that's I gave it to my wife to toss, and that's what ended up. We were way up, almost in the nosebleeds. So I'm sure it made it to the ice, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't see anything. There was just a wall of people and teddy bears just. But my wife and I always wanted to be part of that insanity, and it was just I I can't recall having so much. I always have fun at watching live hockey games, but I can't recall having so much fun at a live hockey game. It was just wild and crazy. I couldn't I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but it was so great to be involved in.
It was cool that I saw a picture of you and C4. I think it was after the game. Did you guys all get together for a picture?
Yeah. We all hung out in front of a Giant Center for a pick.
That's awesome. All right, for timing, I'm gonna end it here with our hockey segment. But I had so much fun breaking down the last couple of weeks of the Caps and the upcoming weeks with you guys. I'm sorry I couldn't get a shootout win on tonight's show, but I tried my darndest. And I hadn't even broke out this Backstrom jersey all season. And I thought that maybe we'd switch it up, but c'est la vie. But thank you guys both for joining in. We'll definitely have you both on in the upcoming weeks as we continue this Cap season, and hope that everyone goes and follows Janaea Talks Caps as well as the Power Play Point podcast. I will do the commands for both in chat, and we. I really appreciate both of you guys for coming on. Janae, any final thoughts before we let you go?
I don't think so. No. Not a single thought in my head. I'm good.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again for joining in from the other coast. And Gil, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, not really. Just wanting to get through this week. This week of games, this week of bad weather. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah, good luck to you guys in the snow. That's my final.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck to you
Yeah.
Why
guys.
is the Canadian has less snow than the Americans? But
The pictures you showed me, it reminded me of like we had this blizzard in 1998, and it's still talked about here. Like it was such a thing here, and it looks like that's just like a regular Monday for you guys.
right, yeah, we haven't gotten too much snow lately, but this is a pretty bad one for sure. Well, thank you guys both so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Robbie. Have a good
All
night.
right. Night, Robbie. Night, Janaea.
Good night.
All right, with that, we're going to bring in our both football, and we might even talk a little bit of wrestling. We got Dujane Bland returning to the show. It's been a bit. Dujane, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I actually have Netflix on, and so I've been watching a little bit. Have you been watching this first episode of Raw? Tonight?
Yeah,
nice.
I've been watching.
Nice.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's been good. It's I'm happy we can talk about that a little bit live as well, since we don't have any Monday Night Football. That'll be kind of our featured thing here in this second hour. But I rarely watch it live. I usually don't. But I know that tonight was such obviously a big deal with the move to Netflix that I thought that we would do that. And speaking of wrestling, we have got our own wrestling expert on as well, DC's People's Champ. How are you doing tonight?
Aside from all the snow and everything, I'm doing just fine. Getting over a little bit of sickness, but I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, Dujane, did the snow get as far south as you, or were you spared?
Nah. We just got a little rain and it's gotten cold here, but nothing like that yet. We might have a shot this upcoming weekend. It's really small, and then maybe down the road we might have a shot. So we'll see.
Right. What's really cold right now for you guys down there?
It'll be 31 tonight, but that's just the start. It'll barely get into the 50s tomorrow. And then tomorrow night it'll be 28 degrees for the next 4 or 5 days at night. So yeah, it's gonna get pretty cold here.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. It's 27 and snowing currently where I am, and it's been snowing for most of the day. And so
yeah,
canceled today, and will be canceled tomorrow as well. So dealing with working because I still am like emergency staff, so of course I still work, right? And dealing with 2 kids interrupting me all the time. It was just a lot of fun. But my wife was the trooper; she was shoveling the snow, so I can't complain. I'll do the juggling, and so I'm thankful for her to to do that with my bad back. But lots of awesome stuff to talk about. We got a couple of big wins over these last couple of weeks. I am shocked. Some of us picked us to have 10, 11 wins this season, and we were all wrong. None of us got 12. None of us thought we would go that high. Some of us thought we were kind of crazy, for some of us picking 11 wins, right? When we did the opening show. And just an incredible ending. And I know that game against Dallas didn't mean a whole lot because in the end, Green Bay did themselves in or whatever, but it's always nice not to lose twice to the Cowboys, and it kind of in some ways legitimizes all the wins that we had this season, that we didn't just do all that just to still fall to the Cowboys. I'm really impressed with the second half by Marcus Mariota, right? Because we could have easily folded that game, but he came in and put the team on the shoulder in an incredible last play, obviously, to win it, and having so many winning drives. One of the things that you highlighted in one of your posts, Dujane, was just how accurate of a passer, that Jaden has been through this, as well as such an incredible running, such a dual threat. And I hate to keep on making this comparison to another guy who just up 95 that it's easy to do, right? But you see a lot of, clearly he influences, what the play style that he wants to be. And clearly you see a lot of what Lamar is doing in what he does as well. But I think that his accuracy at such a young age is just really incredible with what we were able to see. It was interesting that he had a little bit of struggles in the first half, but ultimately got a nice 69% for the season. So I appreciate that. But Dujane, talk about the quarterback position and Mariota, what he sort of meant to the mentorship, and then obviously taking down the team and winning this game for them.
It's just a matter of keeping a guy like Jaden level-headed and focused, helping him learn the offense. This guy is super smart. This is nothing that, most of us who watch college football and like to go through the draft process did not see. This is why I was high on Jaden coming out before anybody else ever caught wind. Everybody else was on Drake May and Bo Nix, whoever else. But this guy is the reason why he's performing well is just he has it. And he works hard, works harder than anybody. First there, last to leave. But it's just so much the preparation for the game, preparation and understanding where everybody is supposed to be. That makes a huge difference. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have the ability but don't have it between the ears. That's really the main thing. If a guy can have it between the ears, you don't necessarily have to have. You don't have to be super gifted to have decent quarterback play. It just so happens that he has all of those things. And the fact that this, having a guy like Mariota helps him to kind of give him a little understanding of when to take over a game and put your body on the line. And then when you just have to give it up and either step out or get down. And I think that's helped out a lot. I think just the way the coaching staff understands every player and how to get the best out of these players is the reason why you're seeing the performances that you are. Mariota works hard. I know a lot of people didn't like that particular pick, but if anybody has been around and understands offenses, can really accelerate someone like him, it was going to be Marcus. And he's done an excellent job. He's done an excellent job when he's had to come in. And really, I think this type of offense and this group of people really suits him as well. It's been amazing to watch. But again, I've been on Jaden from the beginning. So I'm not surprised at his abilities and the things that he has been able to do. Fortunate enough for this franchise, you finally have someone that understands and is not going to pigeonhole a guy, try to make him do something that really he's never shown. So, I really appreciate that from the coaching staff and how they've really maximized the talent level of every player here, because the roster isn't that great, to be honest. they are really playing with house money. But it's a credit to the coaching staff and how they've coached guys up and not put these guys, certain guys that they know don't do certain things well, in positions to where they're going to fail.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of the mindset. I'm happy he got some time in this game. I know it's been a long time since he's got some game reps and and some clutch time, and really had to play well. It wasn't just like throwaway garbage
Right.
time, right? And I think that could only serve us well. I hope that obviously Jaden starts strong, and we don't need Marcus, but in a situation where he needs to come back and come into a game and produce for us, at least that he's a guy who's done it and he's done it recently.
Yeah.
So that's a good sort of ace in the hole, if you will, just to have in your back pocket. You can't have any, too many good quarterbacks on a team. And I like that he seems to be taking his fatherly role. Like, he's a young father so he just had a kid, and taking his mentorship, and he just loves that he's got an opportunity to be on this team with this energy. And, he's not trying to take anything away from him. He's really, I love that scene where at the end of the Falcons game, he lifted it up, said, here it is. This is your moment. Don't kneel down. Don't give any weakness. Take a breath, and and go out and produce. And I thought that was such a powerful moment. For a young franchise, it's really trying to change the culture, right? So
Definitely.
it's been a lot of fun. So um, we have an interesting rematch that was coming up, that I do want to get your thoughts on. Um, we played them week one. It's weird that we're playing the same week one opponent that we had, but also the Eagles are playing their same week one opponent in Green Bay. This time it will be in this country. But just thought, what are your thoughts on these teams sort of playing each other? Obviously, all four of these teams are very different than they were week one. But oh shit! Hulk just showed up.
Yeah, he was
Uh-oh.
there. He was there. I don't care to see him, but he was there.
I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan as a kid. I definitely it's wavered over the years, um, but I mean that was the guy who brought me in originally, right? So I
Gotcha.
remember the
He
Hulk
supports
era.
Trump and he's a racist. Fuck off. Fuck
Yeah,
him.
I agree. I'm not a fan of his today, but it is interesting that he showed up for this moment though. They've been doing a good
Of
job of
course, I mean they've got a small minority partnership in his beer, and it's part of their deal now. So yeah, that helps.
yeah,
That helps out a lot.
for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, they've been doing a good job. I liked how they brought the American Badass earlier,
That was
John
cool.
Cena, and so I like that there's been a title change. So there's been some good stuff here on this Raw episode. Um, but yeah, I think that all four of these teams are very different than they were. I actually really like Green Bay against the Eagles. There was a question in chat that Troy brought up, and he said he read somewhere that Hurts is still a concussion
He
protocol.
is.
And so that is true. Do you think he'll be cleared for this game, or?
I think they're going to find a way to clear him.
Yeah.
He may or may not, and I don't know how bad it is. So I mean, obviously there's a level of where they have to play it safe, but I don't see how they keep him out of this game. Whether he's effective or not, we'll see. But I think if he's borderline, he's going to play. Whether how long he plays, that is the question, because Green Bay is going to get after it for sure on defense, and they're going to try to do their best, to limit him as much as they can. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
I think I'm kind of excited about this because I see it a very similar way to what Green Bay was able to do against Dallas last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
People don't remember,
I do
right?
too.
Everyone thought Dallas were really high on them coming into it, and Green Bay kind of came out of nowhere and took it. And I kind of like a team coming off of a loss, a little hungry. I know that game really didn't mean a whole lot to Green Bay. I mean, it did change who they were going to play, but
Right.
ultimately, they were going to lose that spot anyway because Washington won. But um, you know, I actually really like that matchup, and I think I like this matchup for Tampa Bay against us. as well, have playing there before. We've done this, song and dance, so it's not like we're playing one at our home. Now it's twice there. It's really hard to beat the same opponent in the same location twice. And that works kind of both ways in the NFL. What are some of your thoughts on some of these wild card matchups?
This is part of my NFL coverage with emphasis on the NFC South here, and I've watched these teams all year, and they're no different than the Atlanta Falcons. They show up some weeks, and they don't show up some weeks. They did not show up against the New Orleans Saints. They just played a depleted and inferior, a really depleted and not a very good football team in the New Orleans Saints, and they still just about gave that whole thing away and gave Atlanta an opportunity, but Atlanta pissed down their leg anyway. But almost gave Atlanta an opportunity to be able to win the division by not getting a win. So we've seen this from this football team a lot, and the areas that they struggle in, especially defensively, they do not stop the pass very well. Being that they do have some injuries along that secondary, they do not stop the pass very well. They're like in the bottom half of the league, like near the bottom half of the league when it comes down to passing yards. Tampa, believe they're in, where they at? Jeez, I know it's somewhere around the bottom, but they do struggle with the pass. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the run game. They do pretty well as far as running and being able to stop the run. But I'm going to tell you, this is a game that if I'm them, I'm a little nervous about because, again, you're playing a football team that's playing with house money and really doesn't have anything to lose. Tampa Bay is 29th in passing yards allowed by opposing teams per game. So, it favors Washington in that department. I do think that you can throw the Cowboys game out of the window. I felt like a team that was trying to get out of there and get out of there unscathed. Whether they won or not, I don't think it really mattered. They just simply were trying not to have any extra injuries that were going to keep anybody out, and especially not to their quarterback. So I think in this game, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Washington attacks them because this defense can be had. I mean, Spencer Rattler had a pretty nice first half, had them up 17-6 at the half. It's just simply that this is a New Orleans Saints team that just has a hard time finishing and doesn't really have all the pieces there, to kind of complete that in the second half. Some things to watch when it comes down to Tampa Bay. Obviously, Baker Mayfield. If you watch the video article we did just recently, you'll see a couple plays in there where Baker's able to extend the play. He breaks it, gets several yards, gets a first down. I think it was like 25-yard run. You see the play where he's kind of scrambling around a little bit, pitches it off to Bucky Irvin. Bucky Irvin hits the outside, manages to get a touchdown there. And then you see these off-schedule plays where he's looking down the field and gets an off-schedule play, throws that ball to Jalen McMillan in the corner. He does toe drag swag very well, gets the touchdown. It's things like that you want to limit. Though, that at least once a game, he's going to give you one. And what's going to be very interesting is I can bet you money that Marshawn Lattimore is playing no matter what. And if Marshawn Lattimore is playing, well, guess what? We have the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore matchup here. And Marshawn Lattimore does a really good job of getting in Mike Evans' head. Those two dudes don't like each other, and don't like each other is an understatement. So I think that matchup is key. It's key to everything that Washington's going to do around that. And I think really, if you can limit them in the run game, if you can limit them in the run game, put it on his back. Let him make plays in the passing game, and he's going to give you a few. He's proven that all season long. He's had a couple games where he hadn't thrown one, but he's going to give you at least one. And if you've watched the first half of that New Orleans Saints game, you see a lot of things that were happening in their 4-game losing streak. It's just inconsistencies, not getting, making mistakes. Penalties were costing them, inaccuracies on Baker Mayfield's part. They can be thrown off. He can be thrown off. And I think if Marshawn Lattimore plays, that's a huge deal because he is kind of going to be the Dennis Rodman of the Commanders' defense. And if he can get into Mike Evans' head, get him upset, and rattle him a little bit, which he's known to do. It's a lot of tape out there on that. It's going to be a favorable matchup for them. They just have to execute better offensively, and it starts with getting the run game going by any means necessary at this point. It doesn't matter whether it's B-Rob, Rodriguez, Austin Eckler. You're going to have to find a way to get it going. And if they can get the run game going, we know that this team, everything opens up for them when that happens. And, they have success when they don't have a run game. So that hasn't happened here in Washington in forever. So it is a game that Washington can take. And it's not that hard to do, to be honest, because the South has just had problems with consistency. And you look at all the teams, it's been a issue with consistency week to week. And sometimes it's in succession. And we saw that with the Falcons. And that's why they're not the NFC South champs. So, it's going to be a fun game, though. These teams meet a lot in the playoffs. And it looks like it's, I don't know whether Washington's a 3-point favorite, but it's only 3 points. So that tells you right there that, the Vegas thinks this is a pretty even matchup here.
Yeah, I believe we're actually still the underdogs. The last time that I was checking, I'm seeing right here. Yeah, Tampa Bay by 3. But
I would prefer that.
Yeah, exactly. I would like them to go in that way with a chip on their shoulder. Underdogs, even with 2 more wins, right? I think that's always something, And I really hope that Lattimore, that they sat him for this last game because they really want him super ready for it.
Yeah.
Because when he shuts down a side, which we saw in the New Orleans game, people were like, "Oh, we're not seeing him do anything." I was like, "Well, that's the point. You shouldn't."
Yeah.
The fact that he's getting 0 targets at him says everything you need to know. And
he played well in Philly too. There's some bogus pass interference calls, but he doesn't really care about that. Like that ball in the end zone that he breaks up, he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care if he's going to get PIs. He's going to be physical. He's going to continue to play tough. Those PIs and those penalties don't really phase him one way or the other. He's going to continue to ball. So I don't even think that. I think he felt something, and they're like, well, we are already in a position to make the playoffs. We're going to save you for when we need you. And he would have pushed through if that was a playoff game against the Eagles. It wasn't. And they're like, we need you when it matters. And now it matters. And he will be there, come hella high water. So I don't expect him to not be playing at all. It's gonna be something major that takes him out, not this.
Right. I know we only have a couple more minutes with you, and then I do want to get Champ's takes on a lot of these different things, but I do know that your time is short today. So Tuesday, 2 other topics I wanted to talk about. One is I do want to get your thoughts on this Raw and wrestling and the state of that. But before I do that, I want to talk about a little football with the college side of things. Usually on our winter season premiere, we are simulcasting a championship game. This year, that is not happening for a couple of weeks. So we will still have that show coming up in a couple of weeks, but things have changed. And now there's a tournament, and it's more like March Madness, but in end of December madness, I guess. And what's your takeaway so far on this new bowl season as it's been reconstructed? And what are your thoughts on sort of the Final Four teams as we see it?
It's created a level of intensity. I do like how it's played out. In the first year, I know people have their critical things of like what they would like to see different. I think everybody that was there deserved to be there. One thing I would change is I think there doesn't need to be a week layoff, and here's the reason why. I know Kirby Smart brought it up about the team laying out and being out for a long time, and that being part of the reason. I don't like that being said after a loss. It comes out as you're making excuses, and to me, in that moment, yes, you are making excuses. But as an analyst, when you look at it, NFL playoffs and wildcard weekend starts right now. They're not waiting a week to start. And when you have a team that is now, you waited a week to start the playoffs. Now you have your first round of playoffs, and those guys have been out now 2 weeks. They have the first round bye, but they have been out 2 weeks. So now they're playing a team that's already coming in that season that played last week, and they haven't played in 2 weeks, so they come out a little flat. Of course they are, because the team that's coming in already has a little bit of momentum. They're lathered up. They've been playing in sync, and they're ready to go already. They're hitting stride already. And I think what needs to change is there doesn't need to be a layoff week. The very next week the playoffs start, and you go right down the line just like that. Because what ends up happening is you got teams that are basically almost out for 3 weeks. And you know what happens when you sit around for 3 weeks. We've seen it in these bowl games like we used to have. Teams come out, they've been sitting around for weeks, and the first half looks like complete garbage because both teams hadn't been out there in a while. They're totally out of sync, and there's no rhythm between anybody. So that's what I would change. But the Final Four is pretty cool how it played out. Notre Dame has a hell of a defense, and they utilize that against a Georgia team really that in the areas that they struggled, they've been struggling with that all season long. I felt also that Kirby was trying to protect the young man in his first start. You know what happens. It happens in the NFL as well. When you try to protect your quarterback or your young player from making mistakes, you don't get nothing done. You got to open it up. And I thought he should have just let the young man play. If he threw a couple of interceptions and it cost him the game, then so be it. But when
that's my big problem. I hate that the player makeup of these teams in these bowl games can be so different than the regular season. And so these guys that are getting all the reps are then taking off because they're going pro. And I get it. They're trying to save their body, and there's a lot of money on the line. I don't want to speak, ill of that, but it does change so much. The makeup of these teams, especially in key positions. You just talked about quarterback. It's not like it's some like one guard is different or you know what I mean? Like it is.
I thought Stockton was better than Beck anyway, and Beck was injured, so he wasn't going to play regardless.
Right.
And Stockton did well against Texas at the end, and really was the reason why they won the game.
Yeah.
But
that was a crazy game, and there's still a question on whether or not that field goal should have been good because it bounced through, and whether or not that should have even happened to begin with. And Texas got real lucky in a lot of ways in that game.
Yep.
And I thought that they, in some ways, got protected being in the SEC now in a way, and so in a big name school. But it was a bummer because what a comeback though in that game. That was an incredible game in general. And
it was.
I'm excited that there's 2 more games coming up this week. And then we'll recap those next week, and then we will have the championship because it is still on a Monday. I believe it's still in 2 weeks.
It is still on a Monday. I think it's the 20th.
Yeah, so we'll do that show in a couple of weeks. But I do want to get your quick thoughts on this Raw has been an incredible Raw. We've had a title change. We've had the Ulafala change. We've had a couple other big matches. Right now, we've got CM Punk taking on the wildest outfit that I've seen in a while. In his entrance gear, it looked like something out of I don't know, Lady Gaga video, but it's been an interesting night. What are your thoughts on this move to Netflix?
I think it's a good move. brings everything into the 21st century. This is where we are. This is where we are right now, streaming. So big deal there. I do think that Netflix does have to improve their audio. I said the same thing about them with the football games. I thought the audio was kind of a mono audio. It doesn't sound very good. But other than that, they stepped up their game and got their stuff together. So we're not buffering all the time. So that's good. My only concern about WWE becoming so big is the fact that it now is a possibility that guys like ourselves don't have the opportunity to experience those moments and those special moments at the arena because the tickets prices are now too high. And you end up having Super Bowl prices for every event now. Pay-per-views will be through the roof, and Super Bowl prices, and we'll have many Super Bowl prices for just regular live events. That's my biggest problem with the possibility of the WWE being as big or becoming as big as it has been. I think there's a point where you can become too big, but in the same breath, this is why we still need outfits like TNA and AEW. As much as you WWE apologists bash these other wrestling promotions as if there's plenty of room for these wrestlers to go wrestle in WWE, it's needed. And maybe that will be the balance of the catalyst, because eventually someone's going to have somewhere to go if it becomes too big and we cannot afford to go to a simple Raw event because of big as they are. So people will want to go somewhere, and that's where AEW and TNA come into play. And it spreads things out. It provides a different outlook of wrestling as well. So I like what they're doing. Paul Levesque has done an excellent job of listening to the fans, and there's some things that he's done right. There's some things that I think that maybe aren't as great, but for the most part, he's hit on a lot of things and more than he has missed. And like I said, good stuff. Just hopefully this thing doesn't become an issue where only the well-to-do and rich can only go to these events.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It's definitely been an exciting match, and I'm excited to see it sort of people get. It's funny, people's arguing online. It's like, well, I don't have cable, and so I'm not going to watch it anymore. And I hope that AEW takes you over, in ratings because of this move, which I don't think it will. A lot of people have Netflix. Netflix isn't that expensive.
No.
If anything, it's actually easier to get than some cable packages. So,
for real, it is. It really is.
So I don't see it having that big loss that some people are projecting for sure. But,
I don't.
With that, I want to be mindful of your time. I appreciate all of it that you've given us this week. We've got some exciting football to come back. We'll definitely have you back on in one of these upcoming playoff ones. I do want you to shout out your show. I think you have a big show tomorrow that's coming. So let people know about that.
Yep, it's at the Not Blend Show on YouTube. You can follow me at Not Blend 21 on everything. I love talking shop with you guys. Tomorrow, we will have Nightcast Media. He's out there in LA. Nick Hamilton, he will be on first. We'll be talking about the NFL playoffs, talking about most of these games here, and giving you some type of outlook on what we think and who we think we're going to win. Late in the evening, after 7:30, we're going to have Bowie TV's and the Legacy Sports Network's own Darrell Owens on. He is the photographer for Bowie TV. He is the guy
with the story.
He is the guy in the story that the cheerleader was hit with the ball. He's the guy trying to redirect the ball from hitting her. So
hold on. I want to, because I actually really wanted to show this today, and so this is an incredible segue. Hold on, let me see if I can get this. I'm sending it to myself in the group chat. And I'm gonna post this up real quickly. It was such a cool moment. Hold on, just give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull this up on here real quick. Yeah, because this was a hell of a moment where he tried to save a cheerleader And hold on, does this work if I do it like that? And then, sorry, I'm trying to do things in the moment. All right, here. So if we do this and then this screen share over here, and I think it's this screen. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So you'll see it here on this replay that happens through. So the ball's coming, it's kicked, and he tries to save it
Right there.
and then it still unfortunately hits her, but not as bad as it definitely would have been for sure.
He wasn't dropping that camera, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And especially not for a Cowboy cheerleader. If it was a Redskins cheerleader or a Commanders one,
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, so that's awesome. I just wanted to show.
Yeah.
I was meaning to show that tonight, so that's a good segue. So he'll be on your show tomorrow. That's amazing.
He'll be on the show tomorrow. We're going to talk with him specifically about the Commanders and Bucks, and we're going to break down specifically, get into a little in depth on the Packers and Eagles. Should be a fun show. Looking forward to being back. First one of 2025. And if you're into any racing at all, I am also on a show right afterwards. And why the name fleets me is ridiculous, but it is the Power Hour. It will be on at 9:00. We will be talking with I don't even know who the guest is. I don't book this stuff, so I'm just a talking head there. But be sure, it'll be fun. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that's happened so far in the off season over PRI as well, and it's going to be fun. We'll be talking about some of the up and coming events that'll be happening here in the winter racing world. So a lot of stuff coming up. But definitely check us out, 7:00 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be breaking down the NFL playoffs. And I'm excited, man. This is going to be a very, very fun NFL playoff season.
Yep. So I'm doing a shout out command right now for the Not Bland 21 on Twitch, and then also.
And be sure to subscribe. I always forget to say that. Be sure to subscribe. It means a lot. It helps out a ton. We are trying to shoot for more sponsors in 2025. And every little subscription helps.
Yep, and it's free to do on YouTube for sure, and
that's right.
To follow on Twitch as well. And thank you, Dujane. I love breaking it down with you. We'll definitely have you back on in a couple of weeks to give a playoff update. And it's been super fun catching up with you. And definitely go follow Dujane as well. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right, and with that, we're gonna bring in Tim and Arun, but I do want to get Champ's thoughts on some of the football action. I know we kind of glossed over some of those Commanders wins. We have both the Falcons win and.
Yeah, I thought you forgot about me. I'm sitting right here.
Like, yeah, I'm letting you enjoy your Raw as well. So I was it was intentional, but I do want to get your take on the last 2 weeks for the Commanders, and I've been enjoying this Raw as well. So I've been watching it. It's been a pretty cool matchup so far here with Seth Rollins. But what are some of your takeaways over these last 2 weeks? Getting the big wins and actually not even getting the last playoff seed, but getting not to have to fight the Eagles in the first round.
I mean, it just these last 2 weeks. Atlanta on Sunday night with the big catch from Ertz to win the game in overtime, and then Mariota coming in the second half and getting them down to get the victory with the pass to McLaurin. I mean, this just shows that this team has ice in their veins. There's no die, there's no quit. They just know the game's not over until there's zeros on the clock. And they showed it here. Now, I'm pretty sure like Commanders fans are all up in arms that Daniels was sat out the second half of the game because of leg soreness, but Coach Quinn in a video call assured everybody that it was just a precautionary measure because of the fact they're already in the playoffs. It was all about, making sure that he was ready for the playoff game. It turns out that we're going to Tampa and not going to Philly. So we're going to slightly warmer weather for our first playoff game in 5 years, as opposed to cold weather of Philly for that first playoff game. So it just shows great toughness. The defense is continuing to be very tough, bend but don't break type of a deal. And I think that this team has got a lot of momentum. But the issue that I'm having is they're having way too many of these close games in this short amount of time. And when you hit the playoffs, those things can come back and catch up with you. I think that one of the benefits, I think Coach Quinn kind of brought this up, was the fact that we had one of the later bye weeks. So basically, we played these last 4 games pretty fresh, as opposed to a lot of these other teams who had earlier bye weeks and have played a few more games than we have in that span of time. So I think that that can be a benefit to the Commanders, especially with this playoff game. Tampa Bay, they got themselves a win. Mike Evans went out and got his 1,000 yards of receiving, so he got his big bonus. He tied Jerry Rice. Yeah, cool. But as Dujane mentioned earlier on, if Marshawn Lattimore is on that field, Mike Evans ain't seeing squat. Okay? He ain't seeing squat. You ain't got to worry about Benjamin St. Juste doing whatever. It's going to be Marshawn Lattimore out there with Jeremy Chin and Igubanane and Sanders still. I think that secondary is going to be what's going to keep Mike Evans from going off like he did in week 1. So this playoff game is going to be very pivotal because a lot of people didn't see this team even making the playoffs. Yeah, a lot of us were very, very ambitious, saying they were going to have double-digit wins. But you said at the start of the segment, no one saw us winning 12 games this season. No one. That's 8 more wins than we got last season. 8 more wins. It's an incredible turnaround.
Tripled.
Yeah, exactly. No one saw this coming. I didn't see this coming. And I'm a long-time Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them, fan. I did not see them winning 12 games this season with a rookie quarterback and a head coach who is famous for blowing the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. I didn't see this coming. This is a pleasant surprise. Whether we win or lose this coming Sunday night, I'm happy with the way the season turned out. It's clear that this team already has a positive direction to go to. And hopefully they don't regress next season. But it would be great to win a playoff game and make it to the divisional round and maybe make a run in this playoffs. Who knows? But I like what I saw these last couple of weeks.
It's interesting. It's kind of almost an opportunity to get revenge and a reversal of what happened in 2020. I'll remind people that in 2020, Tampa was the 5 seed and Washington was the 4 seed. So it was in Washington, and Tampa came in and they defeated us with a Tom Brady. They ended up having 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl, where they were the first team to ever have a home Super Bowl, right? So it was interesting, how that worked out. And so this is an opportunity for the franchises to, us to get revenge in some ways, even though there's very few players that are on both of the same sort of teams. Though Mike Evans, I believe, is one of those players. It's definitely been interesting. I also want to bring in, we have Arun and Tim, the rest of our roundtable here. Tim, I do want to get your takeaway. Since we last had you on in a bye week, they went and they beat the Giants, Pittsburgh, Houston, and then Cleveland. And so that's been an exciting run here for the Ravens. So they won the division, and they still, for the, I believe, 3rd season in a row, have to play Pittsburgh in the first round. What are your thoughts on how the last couple of weeks went, and your thoughts on the upcoming playoff game?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Ravens haven't played Pittsburgh in the playoffs in a while, but they're definitely familiar with them. It'll be the 3rd matchup this season. So it's kind of, it's not one of those games where there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think Pittsburgh definitely has more wins head to head lately, but just the fact that the Ravens won on the same field a couple weeks ago, pretty convincingly, I think will give the Ravens a lot of confidence and a big edge in this game. I think the Steelers too, as you probably mentioned earlier, they've lost 4 straight, so they're trending pretty badly. That being said, I mean, if they can finally win a playoff game, I think this season would be successful for them. just not having huge expectations with their quarterback situation. So I think they'll play pretty loose, but the Ravens are pretty big favorites, like 9.5 points now. A big factor though is if Zay Flowers can play, because he got hurt last game and is day to day and questionable. So without him, it'll be a little bit harder for the Ravens to score a lot of points. But I just think Pittsburgh right now is really reeling. They just don't look great really on offense and defense, and I think there could be big changes coming for them next year. Maybe Wilson and Pickens will both be gone, and potentially some coaching changes. So for them, it's a huge game. But I just like the fact that the Ravens are at home. Um, and I think Lamar will play with a lot of urgency and try to, make up for some past losses in the playoffs. Other than that, I would just say Pittsburgh, uh, their one edge might be the passing offense. Just having to match up with Pickens and some of their other receivers can be tough. But again, they're just not playing great the past month, and they really blew the division. So it's kind of you're probably catching the Steelers at the right time right now, I would say.
It's wild that they're in such opposite situations where, Baltimore won their last four and Pittsburgh lost their last four, and so they just are really going in opposite directions going into this game. But it's always tough to, the rubber match game is never easy. And these two teams know each other so well, obviously. Arun, what are some of your takeaways on both the runs by the Commanders and the Ravens to get into the playoffs here?
Yeah, I was surprised, I guess, by the Steelers' collapse more than anything, especially when they were out Pickens. Their offense was very anemic, especially given how well they played against the Commanders. The people were calling them the best team in the NFL after they beat Washington. But the Ravens have taken care of business. Lamar Jackson is making his case for another MVP. And as far as Washington, I was more impressed with the wins against Philadelphia and Atlanta. This last week was a little bit shaky from the coaching front, and the fact that it came down to the last minute against Trey Lance, who isn't that good, but the defense held up. Mariota got a touchdown. I'm not sure why they went for two when they did, and I think if they just kicked the extra point, they could have kicked the field goal to win the game. But they did find a way to pull out a win and not blow another game to the Cowboys. It would have been pretty bad if they got swept by the Cowboys, given that they didn't have Dak Prescott in either of those games. And this game, they didn't even have CD Lamb. So it was kind of, even though Dowdle did a good job running the ball, not even against Washington, just to close out the season, it was just kind of good for Washington to get a win and some momentum, win another coin flip game. They do kind of struggle against lesser teams like the Saints and the Cowboys, but hopefully they play up to their competition when they play the Bucks, who they lost to in week 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, all the playoff matchups are kind of interesting. We'll get into some of them here. I want to ask Champ an interesting question. I was thinking about if the game is close, but Jaden doesn't look like he has it. Do you make the switch to Mariota? Knowing how clutch he was in this last game. So there's no situation where you see Mariota unless Jaden's injured.
Unless JD5 gets injured, no, because you don't want to shake his confidence as a rookie in his first playoff game by yanking him for Mariota. If he struggles, you want to have him get out of that, because he has to learn that early, that when you struggle in situations like that, you got to be able to get out of it. And that's what's going to be the key. So no, I don't see a situation where Dan Quinn pulls JD5 if he struggles against Tampa Bay. I think he has him learn to get himself out of it and work himself out of the slump and get the team back into it. He's a franchise quarterback. He's got to be able to learn to deal with that. Only way Mariota sees the field is if JD5 gets injured.
Yeah. Arun, what are some of your thoughts? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, unless like Washington blows them out or something, then I doubt Mariota gets to play. He did play. I don't even think Mariota played that well. Like he did play okay. Like he ran the ball for the touchdown, but it was more like it was just enough to come away with the win. It still came down to the last drive of the game. It wasn't like he played. It was like it was a one possession game at halftime. It wasn't that like he completely blew the lights off, but he did do enough to get Washington the win.
Yeah. Tim, going back to the Ravens a little bit, what do you sort of see as the key to victory this week against the Steelers? What are you looking as the most important part?
I really feel the Ravens at this point, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm overly confident, but usually the Ravens lose when they beat themselves, and it's mostly around penalties and mistakes and turnovers. So the first game that the Ravens played against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, they lost for that reason. Henry had a fumble in the first half, and Lamar had an interception that was kind of a crazy great defensive play, and the Ravens had a lot of penalties as well, and they still almost won the game, but the Steelers were able to win. So I think it's just an ugly game. Would be a threat to the Ravens where there's a lot of penalties, there's a few turnovers, probably low scoring is better for the Steelers too. So that would be my thing, just playing really kind of rusty, mistake prone football. I don't really see a scenario where the Steelers just totally outscore the Ravens if both teams are playing sharp.
Definitely,
So
I get Derrick Henry involved early. Definitely, got to get him involved early.
Yeah, he's been.
Yeah, run the ball a lot with them. Don't play like the AFC Championship and not run the ball more than 8 or 9 times. You can't do that again.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was the big mistake last year. I'm going to go quickly through the list of different games, and I'll let each one of you guys pick a game that you want to break down real quick, and then I'm going to let Tim get out of here, and then we're going to have our final conversation about how the fantasy football went this year. It came down to 2 games. It was that close in the last week, and we'll highlight those in just a minute. But Tim, before we let you go, here's the slate of games, and then I feel like you've already talked about the Ravens Steelers, so I'll let you pick a different game, and then everyone can pick another game that they would like to talk about as well. So on Saturday, the 4:30 game is the Chargers at the Texans, and then the night game is the Steelers at the Ravens. It's Saturday at 8 p.m. The Broncos and Bills play the 1 o'clock game on which is the CBS game, and then on the Fox game is the Packers at the Eagles, and that's the 4:30 game. And then the NBC night game is the 8 o'clock game, and that's the Commanders at the Buccaneers. And then next week there's a Monday night football game. It'll be the Vikings at the Rams, and so we'll recap the other 5 playoff games and talk about that live game next week, which will be a lot of fun. With that, I'm going to start with Tim, just so we can get him out of here. First, pick another game that you'd like to talk about that's intriguing to you in this week's playoff matches.
definitely, I'm not going to talk about the Washington game, even though personally that's the most interesting one to me besides the Ravens game, just because I know you guys have talked about it and we'll talk about it more. So I'm going to go in a little bit on the Rams Vikings game. To me, this is an interesting matchup. I was just looking at the lines, and this is one of the closest ones actually. Vikings are like a point or two favorite. To me, this is an exciting game because Minnesota is not a normal wild card opponent. I think they won 14 games and had a chance to be the NFC #1, but really got outplayed last night. But I do think the Rams will be a tough out as well, just because, yes, they're not a high seed. They lost plenty of games in the regular season, but they have the Super Bowl pedigree. They still have a fair amount of pieces from the Super Bowl team. Same quarterback. Um, some good pieces on offense. So I'm definitely going to watch this game with interest because, to me, even though the Vikings are the road team, they have more pressure on them because if they lose this game, they go from possibly being, the top seed in the whole conference and getting a bye to just being out a week later and having all those questions about their franchise underachieving in the playoffs, right there. And if they win, though, I mean, I think you could say their season is a success, and they definitely will bring back Darnold and probably sign him to a big contract. So it's just a key game, I think, especially for Minnesota for the future of their franchise. And I'm thinking it's going to be one of the closer games too.
Yeah, it's wild to me. I was surprised that they didn't. I watched that game also last night, and I was surprised that they didn't show up more, especially in a game that mattered so much. And they even bought out a ton of tickets to give to their fans. It was like one of the most buyouts ever of an entire section of the stadium, and it didn't work. The Vikings just didn't really show up, and the Lions have been one of the best teams all year. They probably deserve to win that division. And it's just really impressive, especially with the rushing attack that they were able to do. But just very surprising that with so much to play for, that the Vikings really. I never thought we were going to win it, and for sure. So that is an interesting game. And Tim, with that, I'm going to let you get out of here. Any final things that you want to let us know about, and then I'll let Arun and Champ get their picks as well.
No, it's just great to see you guys again. It's been longer than I thought, probably a month or more. So happy New Year, and I hope we can do another NFL playoff show where both our teams are in. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be tough, but fingers crossed, and good luck on Sunday night. I was talking to a couple other Washington fans today. It kind of sucks once you get to these big games and you start to play meaningful football because it's like all night games, and the 1 p.m. Sunday games are like pretty rare. So it kind of you got to stay up late a lot, but it's definitely it should be a good game.
Yeah, for sure. I'm frustrated that we have both of the night games, especially because I have plans for the Saturday night. But I'll still get to watch the tail half, and thank God for YouTube TV. I can watch it on my phone anywhere. So I'll definitely be
Definitely.
tuning in. But thank you, Tim, for breaking down the Ravens all season long, and best of luck on Saturday. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the show. See ya.
Thank you. All right, Arun, I'm gonna let you take the next one. Which game do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Packers versus the Eagles. This game is also a repeat of Week 1, and if the Lions had lost to the Vikings, it would have been the Rams versus the Lions, and that would have been a repeat of Week 1. But that did not happen. So the Packers had an injury to Jordan Love, who exited the game, and Willis is also shaken up. So, but Matt LaFleur says he's healthy. And it's interesting to me because the Packers, they beat the Cowboys last year in an upset, so maybe they can do it again. And hopefully, if it repeats, then the Eagles will be in disarray next year. But the Eagles look like a very strong team. I'm probably going to pick the Eagles, but I'm hoping that the Packers come away with the win and having an explosive effort.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and Champ, what other game would you like to talk about?
One other note about the Packers Eagles is that Packers lost Christian Watson, torn ACL, which means he might not even play next season because of how late that injury happened. We know it takes up to a year to heal from that. So big loss for their offense. But I want to talk about Broncos Bills. That game's going to be crazy. I'm sure everybody wanted me to say that, but I'm not going to say that because Bo Nix went off against a bunch of backups on Sunday. Okay. But I'm not going to take away from the kid. He actually has been playing really well late in this season to get himself into the race for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we all know who the Offensive Rookie of the Year is. I had an argument with a friend of mine who's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, by the way, about whether JD5 is the actual rookie of the year or whether it's Bo Nix. Bo Nix made a good case for that late in the season, whereas Jayden's been consistent all season long. But that's neither here nor there. This is going to be a very interesting game with Denver coming over here to the East Coast to face a Bills team that's been firing on all cylinders for most of the season. They've had their hiccups, of course, but I think that, Josh Allen has been in this position before. This is the first time for Bo Nix and probably a lot of members of this Denver Broncos team. Their coach has been here before. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to handle not only being in the playoffs, but being in a hostile environment like Orchard Park for a playoff game in January, especially given the fact we just had snow come through the East Coast just today, and there's probably more coming later on. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have to deal with either snow or cold weather. Not that they're not used to it being in Denver, but this is going to be a very interesting game to see. It's going to be an interesting litmus test, not only for Bo Nix to see what the rookie can do, and a first chance to see a rookie quarterback who's drafted this season in the playoffs before we get to see JD5 on Sunday night, but also to see what Josh Allen and these Bills are made of, and to see if all the hype of what they did in the regular season can produce in the postseason, because they always seem to have these magical regular seasons, winning the AFC East and just dominating, but then they get to the playoffs and then they turn into absolute crap. And so I want to see if this is the season where they actually can do it in the playoffs. But it's going to start with facing a fresh team like the Denver Broncos at home, and it's going to be a very, very interesting game. This is a game that I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to.
For sure. I do want to stop this share, and I'm going to share something different real quick. I do want to give one last update to how this went. I know I didn't really play a lot the last couple of weeks, but because I really like making the picks as part of this show. But I wanted to highlight my friend Pete, who was my best man, won this year's tournament, and second place was my father-in-law, Tommy Dykes. And it really came down to two interesting games that went differently for them. And so one of them was this Cardinals 49ers game. Tommy picked the 49ers, and the Cardinals got a big win in that one. And then the other game, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was the Tampa Bay one. Let me just see what Tommy's picks were. And Oh, yeah, it was this one, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. He thought the Kansas City was going to win, but Denver had a lot more to play for, and so those two games, like if they had gone the other way, Tommy would have won, and Pete would have been second place. So, shout out to Pete for the win, and so it was a lot of fun. So thank you everyone for playing as part of the Pick'em this year, and appreciate everyone for joining us. I just wanted to give a final thoughts on that because I know that we had been highlighting that throughout the year. Let me see if I can stop and go back to the main scene here. And Arun, I'm going to let you have your final say, and then I'm going to talk to Champ for a few minutes about this Raw episode as well. But Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go tonight?
Just shout out to Jaden Daniels on a great year. He's the first quarterback for Washington to lead the team in passing and rushing since 1935. So congratulations to Jaden Daniels. And yes, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Brock Bowers is going to be second over Nix.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting the conversations because a lot of people are saying that there should have been a Rookie of the Year in Chicago because his numbers are pretty similar. But I mean, for me, the numbers could be similar, but leading your team to victory has got to be a factor in that. And how many also rookies of the week honors that he got as well. But yeah, it's been an interesting matchup all season long. I do love that RG3 has been given JD5 his flowers and been really supportive of him, which I like because he was breaking a lot of his records along the way. And so just a great thing. And also, we didn't talk about, but Scary Terry, shout out to him for breaking the franchise record for most receiving touchdowns on like the very last moment of the season, the regular season that is. And so shout out to Scary Terry as well. But Arun, thank you for being one of our anchors as always, and we'll talk to you next week with a playoff update.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, champ. Let's talk a little bit more about this Netflix Raw, and I really enjoyed this episode. I don't get to watch a lot of them live. I usually watch them the next day, but this is such a momentous occasion. A lot of big things, including a belt changing hands, the Uafala, and the storylines, and John Cena sort of starting this big legendary run that he's about to go on. What were some of your favorite moments from this big night on Netflix tonight?
Well, I gotta say, first and foremost, like the quality of the stream was absolutely pristine. It was absolutely amazing. It didn't have a single buffering issue. It played through just perfectly. So clearly, Netflix learned from the Tyson Paul debacle they had, and they made sure that they had that shit fixed before they put on Raw. Secondly, the quality of the presentation that WWE put on for this show was absolutely amazing. Just the visuals and everything was just so clean and precise and just absolutely amazing. It was so eye-catching. You just couldn't take your eyes off of the action. Though I'm sitting here playing Madden, so I was easily distracted by that. But I still was able to watch what was going on the screen. Now, I went to my co-host of the podcast, Sip, because he does, when we do live reactions, he does the gimmick where we do time checks for matches. We give the match times for all the matches during the pay-per-views. So I asked him because the tribal combat match felt very, very long. And so I asked him, I said, Sip, can you get a time check on the tribal combat match? And he went and got it. The tribal combat match, which was the first match on the show, it didn't open the show, but it was the first match of the show, went 21 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, I was astonished by that number because I'm like, dog, it felt a lot longer than 21 and a half minutes. It felt like
I
it
thought
went
it
at
was over
least
30
30
minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was only 21 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's insane to think that a match that felt like a 30-minute match only went 21 and a half minutes. But it still did what it had to do. And we got the moment
Well, there's
with
also a lot of
Rock and
build, and then bringing in Rock at the end and stuff like that. So I feel like
yeah.
those things made that whole segment feel longer,
And then on top of that, this week before the show, The Rock actually did a post on Instagram mentioning that he is now a high chief in the Samoan culture, and so it's even more meaningful that he was able to put the Ulafala on Roman Reigns as he himself, The Rock, is like Samoan royalty and whatnot. So really, a really well done segment all the way around. Really did well. They had a lot of people in the crowd, like legends. You had Nikki Bella, Nikki Bella there. You had Stephanie McMahon there. You had X-Pac. You had the women's tag champions there. You also had Tiffany Stratton, who just won the WWE Women's Championship this past Friday on SmackDown, finally cashing in her Money in the Bank. You had the two women who are going to be one of the two women who are going to be crowned the first women's Intercontinental Champion next week. I thought that was going to be this week, but it's next week. So next week is they're going to get a treat to have that happen. But all in all, this was a really, really well done episode of Raw. Their first Raw off of basic cable for the first time in 30 plus years. Again, they debuted back in 1993 on the USA Network. They've been on TNN, then back to the USA Network and whatnot. So 31 years of being on cable TV, and now they're on streaming. I will be very interested to see the numbers of like their streaming numbers, how many people watched it live, how many people are going to watch it on demand and things like that. And I'm very interested to see Bleacher Report because we incorporate their feedback and their grades into our weekend review. I'm interested to see what their grade is going to be for this episode, because this was a really well done episode, even though there were only, if I counted correctly, 4 matches in a 3-hour show. There were only 4 matches on the card. You had the tribal combat. You had the women's world title match. Congratulations to Rhea becoming the new women's world champion and getting a rub from the Hall of Fame and my all-time favorite wrestler, The Undertaker. I thought that was freaking cool. Jay Uso and Drew McIntyre was fire, and then of course you had CM Punk and Seth Rollins absolutely shut the show down with that main event. That main event was absolutely incredible. I can't wait to talk about it this weekend with Seth on the No Spots, because that was an incredible show. I want to see what they're going to do Tuesday night for NXT New Year's Evil. They're going to be in LA on the CW. I can't wait to see what they do for SmackDown, the second 3-hour show in the history of SmackDown. And I can't wait to see what else happens in wrestling. If you haven't listened to the podcast, we returned this past weekend. It was a nearly 4-hour podcast. We spent most of that time talking about New Japan's return to action in Japan with with Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, and then New Year's Dash was the day that we're recording this, which we didn't talk about because we recorded on Sunday. But New Year's Dash was very interesting. I'm going to talk about that this weekend as well. But a great time for New Japan. They have a big event coming up for their American side this coming weekend. With a few championship matches. So wrestling is really in a good place. TNA is getting ready for their first pay-per-view of the year in a couple of weeks. The Royal Rumble's coming up in February, and it was announced today that Riyadh, Saudi Arabia is hosting next year's Royal Rumble. So the Royal Rumble will take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia next January, which means that the Royal Rumble will be a mid-day event for us here in the East Coast. I cannot wait. But wrestling is really firing on all cylinders to start 2025.
Yep. I love I never updated my my going live message. I just saw that Heza wrote back a little while ago. He's like, I'm here for the last stream of 2024. Anyway, because what's cool about Restream is it changes all the titles and descriptions, but does not change that. So that's a good thing to have to remember. I like that you've been streaming on Facebook again on both platforms, so people can definitely check you out on both there as well. And I always love your take with Sith as well. I know that it was a bit of a late night show tonight, but we're hoping to have him recap the Commanders playoff game, hopefully win or lose. So yeah, it's been a great night. I really enjoyed Raw. I was surprised that there was only 4 matches, but they did such a good job with the pacing on it. I do think they'll have more matches in future ones. That was just something special. I did like the sprinkling of all the superstars coming back for it, and they just did a really good job. One last thing I wanted to mention, because you had mentioned the final boss, if you will, right? And also Arun mentioned that Mariota is Samoan descent on his father's side, which is interesting as well. But he just bought some stake in TKO Holdings today. It was released right before they went on air, and I thought that was it's telling that he seems to be buying up stock in a similar way to what he did with the XFL. So he might be, I don't want to say it this way, the next Vince McMahon, but somebody who'd be a player and a role in the thing, but also maybe a future majority owner of TKO. It'll be interesting to see how the next couple of years go. What are some of your thoughts on him taking a bigger percent?
Well, I mean, he's really buying into what's going on with the company and things like that, which I think is a good thing. I mean, he got his start, and basically it launched him into stardom, starting in WWF back in the day. His father, Soul Man Rocky Johnson, God rest his soul, and his grandfather, the Haichi Peter Maravilla, were also a part of WWF in their heyday days and really got their careers going off with WWF, and then he became the first third generation star to join this promotion and ended up becoming a mega star, winning multiple world championships and becoming one of the most recognizable figures in the world of entertainment. And it's all because of that. So he's really like showing his appreciation for what the company did for not only his career but his livelihood by buying into this. And I think that with that, it's showing his commitment to it, where a lot of people question his commitment when he left WWE to go to Hollywood and become this mega Hollywood star. And now he's back and really invested into what's going on. So I think that's a really cool thing that he's doing.
Yep. I'm telling Aruna you gotta buy some Pokeballs. I'll try to catch this dog here. With that, and poor, I have no items. Oh no. Well, you'll have to just lurk different podcasters to do it. My computer's telling me that I'm almost out of power. I haven't been plugged in this whole time, but I think that's a good that we should probably end it here with a 2.5 hour show back. And not going quite as long as Raw, but I appreciate you, champ.
Definitely didn't go as
out.
long as we did. Holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a good show. I was definitely lurking during parts of it. And this past weekend, so the VODs are up for that as well. Definitely go check it out. The True No Spots podcast. You can always go on sportsothp.com. I just posted our podcast from 3 weeks ago on the page. I haven't actually put it on the website yet. But we do audio podcasts. I do encourage people to follow us on Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. And but people should go check out the No Spots podcast, also the Power Play Point podcast, and the Not Bland show. All of them are part of our podcast network. Also, you can check out the Hey Arun show. And so it's fun that all of you guys were on tonight. All of those links can be on sportsothp.com/pod, and then go to the podcast partners button. But yeah, definitely check out the No Spots podcast this upcoming week. They'll have a lot to talk about with Raw and all the other things that we've been discussing as well. Champ, any final thoughts before I find someone to rate out to?
Just hail to the Commanders. Let's go beat Tampa in Tampa. Let's get to the divisional round and prove all the doubters wrong that this is a team of destiny. Also, this is a good time. I say this every time I say this. I'm speaking truth. This is a good time to become a wrestling fan because wrestling is on fire right now. And Mac, AEW's doing their thing with Max and WWE now with Netflix and everything. Like, this is a good time to be a wrestling fan, get into wrestling, and go, invest in Peacock and Netflix and Max to see the archives, to see where all this came from, to understand why so many people are getting back into wrestling, why so many longtime wrestling fans are longtime wrestling fans.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna go check out Al Music. It's actually an Eagles fan, but we're just gonna go have a little fun with him because I told him that I would represent and rate into him if we weren't playing them this week. And so best of luck to them in this round. In the future rounds, I might not feel so well with that, but we'll see how it goes in these NFL playoffs next week. It'll be fun to break that down. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Congrats to the Wizards. They did get a couple of wins while we were away. We'll hopefully talk about more of them in the upcoming weeks if they can get some more wins. And yeah, with that, I will end it there. Good luck on the NFL action and the Caps as well. And go Wizards. And we will talk to you all next week.
Okigenyo, sayonara.